Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. Our next guest is one of the funniest people in the world, and apparently it has nothing to do with trying. Jon Benjamin's new attempted memoir, Failure is an Option, explores all the ways in which this comedian has failed over the years, from childhood to his career to fatherhood. Oh, and there's also a new season of Archer, which we will talk about. Everybody, Jon Benjamin.
Oh, hi, everybody.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
I love your hat.
It's a helmet.
I love your helmet. Great decorative wear.
Yep.
Is that a fear of something that's going to happen on this stage? Or?
Yes, I did not bike here. I just wear the helmet.
Most people take the helmet. You don't leave the helmet with the bike. Or are you scared that the helmet will get stolen?
It, and then it's on all the time. You don't want to see what's underneath.
On a bike day, the helmet stays
I'll take
on.
it off. That's crazy.
No.
Oh shit! Oh no. No.
How are you? Is this your first book?
Yes. Yes. I imagine it's my first, and I imagine my last book.
Why is that?
It was a difficult process to write it, and maybe I'd do another one. I would do it differently. I would make the next one good. And but I would try again. It was hard. It was hard to write. I wrote it's a collection of stories about personal failures in my life, and I got 5 or 6 in, and then I felt like, I don't know if I can come up with any more.
Well, there's an entire section or chapter of the book where you have email exchanges with professors where you're asking them to sort of write the book.
Yes, so you picked up
for
on
you.
that moment when I was like, I need more material.
Well, you literally
I'm on page
say
27. I got to write 230.
You kind of start the book by saying one of the reasons that you're a failure, which I think a lot of people would argue you're not, but you say one of the reasons that you're a failure is because you're so lazy.
Yes, it's true. There's an unhealthy dynamic that I have with the book because I guess in certain respects I'm a success. But it's more about how I feel about myself, I guess. That's what those are what the stories are telling.
Do you feel like you're a success to spite yourself almost?
A little bit, yeah. Although I did I've fulfilled. It's a good. I made it to this point for a reason, I guess. I portray failures. Yeah, so. Maybe not Bob Belcher on Bob's, but a little bit. And Archer certainly has a lot of failure in his life, and so.
Well, the main joke behind Archer is
I'm definitely well suited to play failures based on me. My personal feeling about myself. Yeah.
Archer is a failure because but I guess what's funny about Archer is that he constantly views himself as on top of everything, but is failing all the while.
Yes, for sure. He and he's competent in his job, but a failure in all his personal life.
When I think of your stand-up and your performances that I've seen you do stand-up, all of it is about failure to a degree, in the sense of how far can you take this joke till it fails for some, but makes some who like failure find it funny.
People like watching failure. Yes, I think. Yeah, a lot of that's probably true. And when I put out the album, I think that was part of that. And so.
What was the name of the album again?
Well, I should have learned how to play piano. It was a jazz album with 3 jazz musicians who are, trained jazz musicians, and then me on piano, and I couldn't play. So.
How did you talk somebody into?
It was a dissonance. Yeah.
How did you talk someone into putting that out and paying to distribute that?
I don't know. I think it was Tony Kuehl from Sub Pop is a friend of mine, and he was game. I pitched him the idea for him to find me a jazz label that might do something that crazy, and then he was like, "We'll do it." and so that worked out.
What did the jazz musicians think?
They didn't. The people who were there.
The people who were there with you in the studio.
The guy who actually who kind of came in with a lot of the melodies, like he was sort of the head of the group, the trio. Definitely had a strong dislike of me immediately.
Is that really?
Yeah, and I told him the joke, but I think he was I think he just forgot about it. So I was re-explaining him what we were going to do, and he was like, why would we do that? And I was like, well, because I wrote you about it, right? And then he was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that, because I play jazz. I don't know if I want to be associated with this project. So I had to convince him to stay. The other two guys were game.
This is kind of similar to, it's a reoccurring pattern. It's similar to the sort of gay escorts that you hired to perform sex acts in front of an audience.
Yeah.
One of them convinced you that he
Yes.
doesn't actually do that and forced you to pay him more money.
That's true. I'm not sure if that's in the book. There's a story in the book about that. But
Sorry, spoiler.
yeah, no, that's fine. No one's going to read it. I think I'm not sure whether they were scamming me or whether that was true. And in the case of the jazz musician, I think he was just like, I'm not sure I want to be on an album that disgraces jazz as a medium.
When you pitched this book or decided to write this book, was part of your pitch to your publishers, I will write a book and then I will go and sell it as poorly as possible?
Like right now?
Yeah.
I'm probably playing up, but it's funny.
It is funny, yeah.
Yeah, it is funny, and I did like writing it. So I take back what I said earlier. Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the book to write?
Wow. I like writing the story about my kid and some of the more contemporaneous stories. It was a little tough to go back and piece together some of the comedy stuff, which I know people might be interested in. It's just I'm not. But
one of the things that I liked about the book is, and I guess I always like it when comedians' personal tastes don't really align with being a comedian sometimes, and you talk about being pretentious and loving Five Easy Pieces, which is one of the really phenomenal film.
Yep.
But I always think it's fun when comedians, or not fun, but inspiring when comedians' tastes itself aren't necessarily you're not a big comedy aficionado.
no, I think I was a little bit when I was younger, and then the more I got into comedy, sort of the less I sort of followed it. Although it's inevitable that I see a lot of comedy as I'm doing it. But yeah, my taste definitely diverged as I got a little older. But when I was a kid, I was pretty into comedy.
What did you watch?
As a teenager, Monty Python and David Letterman was a big, for me, that was a huge show. I used to watch that every night.
Did you ever work with Letterman?
No.
You worked on Conan for a little while, right?
I did bits on Conan. I never wrote for the show, but I did bits on it. And let's see, what else? 60 Minutes? Yeah.
That's when it started to diverge a little bit.
The comedy stuff.
Just the Andy.
Just
Is it Andy Rooney? Was that the guy?
Andy Rooney, right.
Forget him or Mickey Rooney. I always confuse the two.
They're the same. They're the same two people.
Isn't it mostly just him yelling about people not using pencils anymore or something? At the end of 60
Yes,
Minutes?
he would complain loudly about some mundane thing. It's a really popular impression that probably no one knows anymore, but I can't do it.
You don't really do impressions of any kind.
No, I mean I could try. But
What do you got?
hey, hey there, Ricky.
Sorry.
Do you know who that is?
Let's see. You get three guesses.
Hey there, America. It's me, William Howard Taft.
Just like him, John. Just like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the time
He had a broken jaw. Yeah.
Oh, did he really?
No. Just making shit up about presidents.
I saw you perform around the holidays for one of the Yola Tango Hanukkah shows. You and Glazer did one of your sort of classic 20 to 45-minute bits.
There was every time we performed or I performed, there's always someone in the back going like, like, there's more people to do the show. You gotta get off. A lot of that.
And it was the chefs, right? The Italian chefs.
Oh yeah, we just did that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we did. Yola Tango did Hanukkah shows after I think a long hiatus from doing them this year.
That's where I saw it this year.
Oh, okay. So you're talking, yeah, that was like only a few months ago, right? Yeah.
This Hanukkah.
I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
December,
right. So it was last year, technically.
I'm not
verge of
particularly Jewish, but I think it's somewhere in December.
You're not particularly Jewish. So you're Catholic.
Not essentially, but maybe Catholic.
You dabble.
I dabble.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do as well. I do Judaism once a week. Yeah.
When did you and Glazer start finding these bits where the two of you kind of got together and essentially saw how long you could sustain some? I mean,
a lot of it was kind of based on probably like the nature of performing comedy in downtown New York at that time. There were
mid 90s.
Yeah, and then the late 90s and early aughts, I guess. There were a lot of shows where things were a little more freeform. It would be kind of a amalgam of comedians who had stand-up acts that were, they could do 5-10 minutes. And then there were a bunch of people kind of more like us who would be like, well, probably more improvisational, I guess. So with anything, like with improv, you sort of don't know when to end. And I think that's what we did a lot. Kind of just kept going and looking at each other, just keep going, and the audience permitted that.
Did you ever do try classic stand-up?
I do it now a little bit. Yeah, I sort of came late to it. Probably in the last 10 years, I do a lot of college shows, which requires me to do an hour, and an hour of what we used to do, it would be horrible for them. So I do a little more traditional stand-up, I guess. But I don't work hard at it, but I do have enough stuff to give me a show, to give them a decent show.
Is it hard for you? Sometimes I think there's like an ironic distance that you have naturally. Is it hard for you to sort of get into the place of a stand-up where you have to talk about yourself in a personal way and relate to the audience without some sort of like a bit of a distance?
I mean, I don't know if there's any definitionally, I don't know. All stand-ups are different and vary in their styles. But yes, probably to a degree, I do a lot more irony than what you would imagine the standard stand-up does. Yeah.
It's not like observational, personal.
Not really, although there's some stories I tell about, myself now and being a father and stuff like that. But there's a lot of the older bits that I sort of pepper into the show.
I love the stuff in the book about being a father. It's hard to sort of make fun of being a father in any way, even when you're telling sort of the the moments where you felt like a failure. It still feels in some ways like you're giving advice and being very sincere about what it was like to sort of become a father.
Yeah, and probably eventually my book just becomes an apology to my kids. He'll read it and be like, I remember that. Oh, no. Yeah. So hopefully at some point, in the next 30 years, he'll read it and be like, oh, yeah.
Maybe the next book could actually just be An Apology to My Kid by Jon Benjamin.
An answer back from my kid, right.
There's a new season of Archer right now.
Yep.
Right? I think we have a clip of the next season. Let's throw to that clip and then talk a little bit about it.
Okay, so listen.
Yeah, not great, huh?
No, not great. I'm gonna do the best I can, but we're gonna hit the water pretty hard. Probably even flip over. But there's a bunch of life jackets in the storage locker, so I want you to get in there and hunker down, okay, buddy? Hopefully that'll cushion the impact.
Oh, you're talking to me?
Who else would I be? Oh,
Yeah.
you can fly.
Yeah.
So, you're out of here.
Is that weird?
I mean,
Well, yeah, obviously it's weird if you make it weird.
What number is this? 8? 8 or 9?
This is 9.
This is 9. This is
Season
the
9,
Ninth
yeah.
season. That's crazy because I remember when this show first was put on the air, it was by one of the creators or writers of Sea Lab 2020 on Adult Swim, right? Or
Yes, I think that's true, and I think prior to that, Adam had another show on Adult Swim as well, and I'm blanking on the name.
It just didn't feel like when this thing launched and it was your voice who still felt kind of like a cult thing for people, and then him, which felt like someone who wrote these really weird cult things that were only for certain groups of people in their dorm room at 1 o'clock in the morning, really high and absolutely loving it. That there was no way this could last longer than like a season or two. It was just too irreverent and weird.
I guess. I'm not sure that I haven't seen the prior show that Adam did, but based on what I know about Adult Swim, I imagine that's a correct assessment. I think Archer probably was a bit of a departure in that it was a little more mainstream in a way and diverging from the kind of totally wacky stuff, although it's sort of getting there now.
I mean, it was pretty
it's
wacky
sort of coming
from the
back.
beginning.
I mean, it was, but there was something grounded about it that, like, there's a talking bird, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, he got back to where he started. So, yeah, there you go.
Do you are oftentimes actors, I don't know if it's the same with voice actors, can't watch their own stuff. Do you watch Archer because you don't necessarily know what's going on with any of the other characters in the show?
Oh, you mean I read the scripts while I do them, so I'm aware, but I do watch the show. I usually catch up. You know, I finally got to watching season 8, so I just did that.
Great.
Thank you. I'm shocked that no one cared. I mean, I don't watch I watch it like probably everybody else. Like I watch it later.
And what season are you on with Bob's Burgers right now?
Me watching it, or
No, it airing, then you watching it.
All right, I'll give you the breakdown.
Yes, please.
Both.
Time to kill. So just
That's fine. Bob's is I think at the end of season 8, and it's gonna have a season 9. So that's great.
and potentially more after season 9, or have they said that 9 is the last one?
No, I think it potentially has a life after. Archer may or may not end after season 10, although I've heard from Adam that there's a plan to end the show. But that might change. Yeah. I would hope it does. I would like it to continue for all of you. Yeah.
And for you.
And for me, mostly, yeah. I like doing it.
Do you prefer doing voice work to doing on-camera stuff, like Jon Benjamin Has a Van, or any of your other performances where you're on camera, not just doing your voice?
It's a lot easier on the old gas tank. That's what I call myself. So I kind of do prefer it, and it's I guess I'm just more used to it now. It comes so easy, and I've been doing 2 of the same shows for 9 years now, so it's like moving over to live action stuff is a big difference in the style of work and the length of time involved. And I haven't helmed a show since Jon Benjamin Has a Van, and I'm offended by that.
By something I said?
No, I'm offended that I
haven't
haven't been asked back to do that again.
Well, as you describe in the book, you describe yourself as very bad at helming shows.
I'm a little, I need to pay attention more, but I'm getting better now and starting to focus. So like I said, this is part of the process. I'm catching up, and I think I'm ready to make another show.
I just realized you took the helmet off at the beginning of this conversation. Were you hoping to just have the conversation without mentioning the helmet, and then I broke the bit, or?
I was going to wait for you to respond, and you didn't, so I just went with it. I started the bit that, yeah. I was going to wear it the whole time.
I don't think I should have said anything. I think I should have just let you sit with it on the whole time.
Well, we talked about it earlier. I was going to try and maybe bike out of here, but that would have been impossible.
Yeah, we should have got the bike and put it over there for you.
No, yeah. I could just leave, and the audience would get that good shot of me leaving on my bike.
They'd get a kick out of it. Yeah. Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question?
Hi.
Hey.
So I was wondering, since voice work is normally like you're by yourself, how you get into different characters?
Oh, okay, wow. I know, yeah, what was the question? Oh, sorry, it wasn't, your inflection wasn't a question, so I didn't know it was over.
Sorry.
No, you went down. I like it. I think it should be the new way to ask a question. I think people should go down. Yeah, but go ahead. Put a question mark on the end of that and repeat it.
Okay. Since
And I don't mean to be
voice
rude.
work, no, I like this. It's practice.
Yeah.
So since voice work is normally done by like alone, how do you get into your characters?
Well, I guess now, like I said, that I've been doing it so long, it's pretty easy to differentiate Archer from Bob. But they started around the same time, and so I know now, like right away, just to be louder when I do Archer. It's not a great acting lesson, but that's how I differentiate them. And Bob is a lot more like me, like now, where I a lot of stammering, like a lot of. So I sort of built myself into the character of Bob more. And Archer's, I think, just it's also done a little differently because Bob's is done in an ensemble. You have the other actors in the room, in the studio, and some in your headphones from LA. So you're kind of working off the other actors. So there is a lot of kind of back and forth and kind of a lot more natural conversation going on. Archer's more like just do the line, and that's kind of more to his character.
Thank you.
Sure.
Have you ever been on a set where you had to be around other actors who took the craft seriously or were trying to get into character? And how do you respond to that usually?
I like, I like this. No. No, I wish I had that background in a way. I envy that. I envy it. There's, many actors who work even on Bob's. Kevin Kline is a, Juilliard-trained actor, classically trained actor, and he definitely sort of come back a little, like understanding the way Bob's work. And prior to Bob's, I've been doing a lot of shows where improvisation was kind of the crux of it. Like you would just basically, you'd have a script as a backdrop, but there was a ton of improv in the previous animated shows I did. So I think sometimes you have to bring actors up to speed on that. But like Kevin's process is very classical. He'll go through the line again and again and again, and you're just sitting and waiting. But he wants to get it right, and I'm not that way. And it's funny in a lot of ways that benefits to get it wrong, because it makes me look like I'm a good actor. Yeah. And that's I think what you get out of doing it improvisationally. You end up using a lot of the mistakes because they're just organic. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next question.
How are you? Big fan. This is similar to your question, so I hate to repeat, but you're so notorious for Bob's Burgers, Archer, What I'm in Arkansas Summer, your voice, but would you like to go back to a Jon Benjamin Has a Van type project where you have more creative control and you, I guess, I don't know what the creative control is of the shows, but you can do more of your comedic bits?
Yeah, I think so. Eventually, I'm working on stuff now, not in spite of the success of those shows, because they deserve it. It's harder to get a show on the air. But I do most of my time is spent writing comedy. So, and you'll see none of it, or maybe. But yeah, I would like to. Jon Benjamin has a van where I was, I wish we could have done more, and hopefully I get to do something like that again. I'm not sure I would like foray into sketch at this point. It's kind of I'm getting old, and I don't want to be like the old guy in the sketch comedy show. I don't think I probably suited for that anymore. But I'm writing narrative comedy now, and hopefully something would happen.
Awesome.
Like a multi-camera sitcom?
I just finished a script with John Roberts, who plays Linda on Bob's, and it's a single camera comedy. Hopefully that will get going.
One more.
Hi. Since your voice is so iconic, I wonder, do you get recognized in public? Like, do people come running around the corner when they hear you talk? Or
Yeah,
can
there's
you, like, pass?
A lot of people, lurking around. Yeah, there he is.
I think I saw a tweet recently where you said that you got recognized in an airport while you were in the middle of
Yes.
disciplining your child.
Yeah, I was having a major argument with my kid in Wyoming airport, and a guy like sitting at a table, a couple across from us at the gate, and the guy was like in the middle of our argument, and I was being like, no, dude, you have to, there's like a major argument, and he was like, excuse me, I just need to interrupt for a second. Are you Jon Benjamin? And I'm like furious at this point, so I had to like pivot and be like, oh yeah, oh man, I'm a huge fan. Like, my kid got out of that one. Yeah.
How does your kid respond to that when something like that happens?
Well, in that case, I think he was relieved. Right? Because he just wants me to stop yelling at him at all times. So that worked out for him. But on the whole, if I'm recognized in the street or something and I'm with him, he has to sit and wait. So he's just aggravated. Yeah.
John, Archer's on right now. The new season 9, is on FX right now.
Yes, I think it is on
Thursday?
Wednesdays at 10.
10.
Yes.
Wednesdays at 10 on FXX.
On FXX, yeah.
On FXX. And your book, your first attempt at a memoir.
Yep.
Failure is an option.
This is coming out on, it's next week.
Oh, is it next week?
Yeah, May 1st.
Well, everybody go online and do some pre-ordering.
Yeah, look at that. Ugh. Lord.
Yeah, you couldn't ask them to Photoshop that, or did you?
Or I should get a pair of pants that fits. Yeah.
Hey, Jon Benjamin, everybody.
Thank you very much.